Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for March 22nd, 2023?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWiggin, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWiggin, yes.
Thank you. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of March 22nd, 2023?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWiggin, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWiggin, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And moving right along to the first selectmen's updates. The past few weeks, we've had lots of events, lots of fun events, signaling that spring is here. And that's not going to change in the next few weeks. Tomorrow, will be Sam Buck Day here in Greenwich for a youngster who's been battling an affliction for a long time. He's a great, great kid. I saw him the other day at Western, and it's going to be Sam Buck Day in Greenwich. So we look forward to seeing Sam here at Town Hall. And at 12 o'clock, we're going to have the closing ceremony of the Zach Foundation over at the Greenwich Boys and Girls Club. It's always a very important event they put on every year to teach kids about swimming and the dangers involved with the pool safety and all that. So it's we're thankful to the Cohen family for doing that, and to the Greenwich Boys and Girls Club for always hosting it. There'll be a first responder mass this Sunday at 10:30 at Second Congregational Church in Greenwich. And on Monday the 17th, we're going to do our official Sister City agreement with Izum in the Ukraine at 11 o'clock here in the Town Hall meeting room. On Tuesday, we'll be at home in Greenwich Day. We'll do a proclamation at 2 o'clock at 139 East Putnam Avenue. And on Wednesday, we'll be holding Deputy Chief for Police Department, Deputy Police Chief candidate interviews, which reminds me, yesterday we officially swore in Assistant Chief Justin McCarthy of the Greenwich Fire Department. We wish Justin well, good guy, comes highly recommended, and we look forward to many years of his service here in town. But again, going back to next week, we have the Deputy Chief interviews for the Police Department. And later that day, it's a busy day. I'll be doing my monthly meeting, lunch meeting with the First Selectmen and Women of Fairfield County. We do that every month just to exchange best practices. And later that day, we're honoring Chris DePino up in Middletown. I don't know if you remember Chris DePino, a great guy, state representative at the Italian-American Legislative Dinner in Middletown. So well-deserved. Chris is a good friend of Greenwich. On the 21st of April, we will be doing the Greenwich Play ribbon cutting in opening business in Old Greenwich. That doesn't have a time here. I think it's late morning. On Saturday, April 22nd, we'll be doing a cleanup of the Mayanas River Park. That starts at 9 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to, if you want to scoot over to Todd's Point, we're going to be also cleaning up Todd's Point with the Live Like Luke event, which brings hundreds of people there. And the beach is never cleaner than around 12 o'clock on that day. So it's a fun day, and hopefully we'll have good weather for it. A nice event in honor of that young man. At 4 o'clock, we'll be going to the Choral Society event. There, we're presenting a proclamation. And on Monday, the 24th, we will do the Greenwich Public Schools Community Service Awards, always a nice night. And later that day, we have the Circle of Friends Fellowship Awards for volunteer service at the Westport Women's Club. Tuesday, the 25th, I'll be doing my fireside chat with the Water Club, at the Water Club with the Greenwich Chamber of Commerce. We kind of should have that in winter, fireside chat, not in the spring. But it's a great venue, and we really look forward to being there with the members of the Chamber. And then on the next day, I believe the 26th, at 9 o'clock, we're going to be doing the Greenwich Leadership get together at the Greenwich Junior League. So lots going on, and with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Lauren Rabin.
Thanks, Fred. Good morning, everyone. Just again, I focus on what I've been working on during the past 2 weeks. Certainly the Central Middle School Building Committee, keeping us all on that building committee quite busy. Also, June is the time when we have a lot of boards, commission, and committee expirations. So we are busy interviewing. I know there's been a lot in the press about the open spots at Nathaniel Witherall's board. So we do have a number of applications that have come in, and we'll be scheduling a lot of those interviews into the May, June period, because we do have, like I mentioned, the backlog of a lot of term expirations for June. We still have openings on some of our commissions. The Historic District Commission, we're looking for some alternate members there. And we are also looking for alternate members in IWWA, which is Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. So if you have that skill set and ability to volunteer, certainly we're looking for those positions to be filled. Also starting to get back on track for the Reimagine Greenwich committee. We, once again, are going to do the Free Music Fridays. We're going to focus, though, on only evenings. We found, even through the past summers, that the daytime events just weren't as well attended. We're also exploring obtaining permits to do more than just Greenwich Commons. So do something in Coscob, do something in Old Greenwich, do something at Byram Park, just to spread out the joy of attending a free concert. Also working with ARC, which is our Architectural Review Committee. We had feedback on the barriers for the restaurant nodes on Greenwich Avenue, so something to make it look more attractive. There's this concept of putting a skin, and I try to describe it. Remember back in the day when we put covers on our books when we went to school, on our textbooks? So something of that nature, but really just sort of branding, Greenwich Avenue, and something that doesn't detract from any of the individual store or restaurant branding, something that just kind of blends in. So we're working towards that for this outdoor dining season. And that's my update.
Thank you. Lots going on there and lots more to come. And I also want to thank you for keeping track of all these appointments and for the boards, committees, and commissions. As we mentioned yesterday, 3 years ago, we were told we didn't have enough people for these things, and we found out we have more than enough, which is a great problem to have, people that are willing to give of their time and have skill sets and passion. So can't do it without you, so thank you, Lauren. Good morning, Janet.
Good morning. So April is Earth Month, and the calendar is filled with great events to help us appreciate our beautiful natural setting. So I'll highlight just a few of them. On Saturday, April 15th, from 11 to 1, someone please tell me to go fly a kite at the Kite Flying Festival at Greenwich Point, co-hosted by the Department of Parks and Rec and the Greenwich Arts Council. On Thursday, April 20th at 7 p.m., co-hosted by Greenwich Library and the Greenwich Sustainability Committee, there will be a program in celebration of Earth Day titled Chasing Water by award-winning National Geographic photographer Pete McBride, in person and by live stream. To register, go to www.greenwichlibrary.org. And as Fred has already mentioned, on Earth Day itself, Saturday, April 22nd, the 4th annual Live Like Luke Beach Cleanup will be held at Greenwich Point from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Many local sustainability-minded organizations will be there, including Greenwich Sustainability Committee. I hope to see everyone there. And finally, speaking of appointments, Sign Up Genius reminded me that next week is Volunteer Appreciation Week. Greenwich has over 22 boards, commissions, and committees, and countless civic-minded volunteer organizations, all served by volunteers whose commitment and qualifications are incredibly impressive and whose contributions are the reason our quality of life is what it is. A thank you doesn't feel adequate, but at the very least, let me express my deepest gratitude to these volunteers. And that's it from me.
Thank you. Great way to end off. We couldn't function the way we do without all our volunteers, so we thank each and every one of them. Okay, going on to old business, we have the GEMS request for the Hillside Road closure for the Kids Triathlon, and GEMS Deputy Director Patrick O'Connor is here. Good morning, Patrick.
Make sure you put the microphone on.
Am I on? All right. Our request hasn't changed from our original request, and that would be to close a section of Hillside Road for our triathlon, June 11th, Sunday morning between 8 and 10.
Thank you. I haven't heard anything from the residents, but I'll check in. We have one on the dais here. We haven't heard anything, so that's the purpose of the second read, so thank you. We're ready to vote on it. So thank you, Patrick.
Lauren Rabin, I motion that we approve the request from GEMS for the Hillside Road closure for the kids' triathlon on June 11th, 2023,
Janet
from
Stone
8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Okay, next up is the request for the approval of the lease of the Greenwich, with the Greenwich Arts Council. It's a second read, and we have Assistant Town Attorney Amina Ahmed here. Good morning, Amina.
Good morning. Unless you have questions, I believe this is a second read for you, and you would essentially be sending this on to the Planning and Zoning Commission so that they can do a municipal improvement review and then vote on it to then ultimately send it on to the RTM.
Okay, thank you. And likewise, as the previous item, I have not heard any complaints or objections.
That's right.
None of us have. Thank you, Amina.
So Lauren Rabin, I motion that we approve the lease with the Greenwich Arts Council.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along to our third item under old business, which is the request for the MI status for the Old Greenwich School project. And the chair is here, James Waters. Good morning, James.
Good morning. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you again for our second read. I'm happy to go into more depth if there are outstanding questions. I know we had a conversation yesterday that there may be. But from my perspective, the building committee is asking for your support and to vote so that we can start the municipal improvement process. I know we were prepared to vote 3 weeks ago, but I said, hey, no need to jump the line and skip your process. Let's do a second read. One thing, I would just say is, look, this is the very beginning of a process, of a long process. You guys know way better than I do. We have a lot of work to do, but based on the performance of this building committee, I have no doubt that we're going to get there. A few points I'd just like to highlight for you guys that are developments in the last 3 weeks. As you know, we continue to move with a purpose, and based on the recent input from the community, a heightened sense of urgency. So a few updates. As you know, the BET did not provide construction funding for the OGS renovation in the upcoming year's budget. It does delay the start of construction until spring 2025, unless we find a way to qualify for emergency consideration by the state. We're going to be looking at this in the coming weeks, but as our materials state that we submitted before our first read, there's no change to our ask for MI. In fact, there's more urgency now. The BET did provide the building committee with $1,086,000 in incremental A&E funding for the pre-construction process, and I do want to thank the first selectman for advocating for this funding, so the OGS renovation isn't delayed for 2 years. The Board of Ed asked for the full construction funding, as you know, but also indicated that at a minimum, wanted us to have the $1.1 million in pre-construction funds. Here's where the sense of urgency comes from. In the $1,086,000 that was approved, there are 3 conditions on this fund. First is that the BET is going to hire an independent estimator who will, I'm hearing, will complete his work in June. Second is we are going to provide an update on construction funding based on our schematic design, which we're aiming to do in June. And third, the project has to get, and I'll quote it here, municipal improvement and approval by the P&Z Commission of the project preliminary site plan approval through the RTM appeal process. We all know that takes time. So I'll just say this clearly and plainly for all of you. The building committee anticipates running out of funding this fall prior to satisfying this final MI condition unless the MI process is expedited this summer. So that's why we're here today and why we don't have a change in our ask. I will give a shout out to the P&Z chair and the town planner. We've already been getting for weeks, getting expert guidance from them. Our owner's rep from the Morganti Group has met with their staff a few times in the last couple of weeks and tells me we're going to be ready to go before the P&Z for a pre-app in May or June, and then start the formal application in June, July. And then let me just give you a few other updates that are material. In the last 3 weeks, I'll tell you that we've done everything we said we would do. First, we completed engagement sessions with parents, teachers, and students and received great feedback. We're going to do a similar session with our neighbors in a couple of weeks. Second, we've made significant strides in the design process and expect to narrow down our recommended design within the next month. Third, you may have read in today's paper that engineers and architects have been scouring OGS during the April break, conducting thorough assessments focused on mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, and an in-depth ADA assessment. We're also doing phase 1 environmental studies, drilling geotechnical borings, and conducting interior hazardous material assessments. And then next week, we're going to be interviewing candidates for construction manager, get them on board by the end of April, and then the CMR is going to help provide professional estimates on our chosen schematic design by the end of June. So every week counts for us right now, and there are going to be plenty of hearings and public meetings in the coming weeks and months, and I'm sure plenty of questions for us to answer. And I'll close by saying, I'd invite you to join our weekly building committee meetings. Janet has been a great help to the committee, and we'd certainly welcome each of you anytime you'd like to join us, Tuesdays at 7 a.m. We do run a pretty tight ship. I am a Navy man, after all, but all perspectives are welcome. Many thanks in advance for your support.
Thank you so much, James, for the thorough presentation. And personally, some of the questions that I had yesterday have been cleared up. The process is a lot more clear to me now. And you were very helpful with that thorough presentation. So I am good on this end, but I think my colleagues may have some questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. So I'll admit I'm the one that had the questions. Being on a building committee, and sorry I can't attend yours because I have one that conflicts. And also, yeah, being on 2 other building committees, everything seems to be just a little bit different, and we don't get MI, and this, we're not giving you MI approval, we're approving that you could take it to planning and zoning. So I want to make that clear to the audience. And the information that we've been getting is not necessarily the same, but I do understand now that this is just for preliminary. You're not doing final site. And my questions were just based on your funding from the BET, does that change anything in your request? So you clarified that it doesn't. And then also, as you go through getting your cost estimates from the independent person, if something leads you down the path that replacement is going to be more cost-effective than renovation, does that come back to the Board of Selectmen to, again, refer it to planning and zoning? And I was asking Patrick LaRoe that, and thank you, Patrick. You're on vacation and you're answering emails.
He's dedicated.
So, yes, so I appreciate that. And Janet and I were speaking about our experiences on building committees. We don't have a playbook, and I really think that we need a playbook because everyone's operating slightly differently, and it gets, really confusing. So, for example, you might pick your construction company in April. We picked ours at least for Central, at least a month and a half ago. We still don't have the legal agreement. So it's just understanding and sharing best practices because we do have 4 building committees that are going on simultaneously. So this isn't directed at Old Greenwich specifically, but just to give you an appreciation for where I'm coming from as I look, more across the horizon of everything that's, trying to move forward at rapid pace at the same time.
Thank you for those, and the only thing I would say is if I can ever be helpful in helping create a playbook for building committees, I mean, obviously, the chairman of the Central Building Committee has been a great help to me, the chairman of the JC Building Committee as well. So, I think
Forget GHS, he's the gold standard.
and he has been as well. So, and obviously the former chair of the new Lead Building Committee as well. So, yes, I think I'm sure the four of us would be happy to help.
Excellent.
Thank you. Janet?
Thank you. So, yeah, let me just echo this idea about a playbook. That would be on us, either this board or town hall. But absolutely, any input. I just know, our building committee has been excellent. Planning and zoning, the chair and town planner have been so supportive. But as Lauren mentioned, it would be wonderful to just sort of document some way, somehow, best practices, because these building committees are independent, even though we do try to make sure that someone serves on these committees who's had previous building committee experience. So I am absolutely on board with that idea.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of thanking our volunteers, thank you to our excellent building committee. Yes, I have attended and enjoyed all of these meetings, and I am not an early morning person. We do meet at 7 a.m., so the fact that I'm saying that this is a very enjoyable experience really, I can't underscore that enough. So thank you for all the work that's gone into this.
Did you?
I will echo that, and if I can attend one of these days at 7 a.m., I'll be in my gym attire, because
You're welcome to come there that way.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, James.
Great. Thank
To the whole committee. Okay, I think we are ready.
So I'm just trying to think how I motion this. We're not requesting the status where we are approving submission of municipal improvement status to planning and zoning.
Yes.
So I motion that we do that.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Couldn't have done it better. Good job. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Okay. The last item on old business is the request for action on the statement on anti-Semitism in Greenwich. It's a second read, and our friend Myra Clark Siegel is here from the American Jewish Committee. Good morning, Myra.
Good morning to all of you. And thank you to Sue Frieden, who is here. Also, Sue co-chairs our Connecticut Government Outreach Committee and is, of course, a Greenwich constituent as well. We also have members of our committee who are watching via Zoom and leaders of our committee. And we want to thank you all for the leadership that you have really shown in celebrating the diversity of our communities here in Greenwich, which I think Greenwich really highlights and is a leader on, and making sure that the Jewish community feels safe and protected here. And so we really thank you for your leadership in taking up the IRA, or International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which is why we call it IRA for short, working definition of anti-Semitism. Today, we are actually celebrating the last day of the Jewish holiday of Passover, which is an ancient holiday that Jews around the world celebrate for freedom when the Israelites were enslaved and had no voice. And today is literally that last day of that holiday. So what a timely moment for us to talk about these issues and take a stand against this oldest hatred, literally, against the Jewish community. You know, we at AJC, which is the oldest Jewish American civil rights organization in the United States, we were founded in 1906, and we stand together with every diverse community, and we stand proudly and strongly. And in our surveys, we have found, again, that 41% of the American Jewish community feels less safe today than we did even a year ago across the country. And we want to thank you all here in Greenwich, as our leaders, as our government officials, for taking on this issue in a very strong leadership role to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism as a tool so that people understand what this kind of hatred is and how it can manifest, and to really say to people, hate has no room here in Greenwich. So we thank you for this. What better way to celebrate the end of this holiday together? And May is also Jewish American Heritage Month. It is also Asian American Heritage Month. We will be celebrating both proudly. And so what perfect way to go into Jewish American Heritage Month than to stand both together against hatred and in celebration of our communities together. So we thank you.
Thank you, Myra. I don't have much to add to that, just that we stand with you in celebrating all of our diversity here in town, and also in our stand against anybody who promotes intolerance, especially in this day and age. It's quite easy, and I think the internet, as much as we love it, kind of helps, promote some of that stuff. So I think something like this is never a wrong time for something like this. So we appreciate you coming forward and all that you do in here in town and beyond.
Thank you.
Again, thank you in the spirit of thanking everyone. What your organization does, what organizations like the Anti-Defamation League do, is so important in this community. So thank you very much.
I just echo the thanks, and well said for both my colleagues. And yes, what a perfect day to adopt this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming here. Okay, so is there a motion to accept this action on the statement on anti-Semitism?
Lauren Rabin, I motion that we approve the IRA definition of anti-Semitism and working definition in our proclamation language.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes?
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay. Thanks again, Sue and Myra. Appreciate it and good seeing you again. Okay, that is great. We're on to new business now, and we have the request for the temporary closure of the water main replacement work on Greenwich Avenue between East Elm and Grigg Street. And we have Justin here from American.
He's online, could he raise his hand? Oh, okay, I just got it. I'm gonna promote him.
Okay, I don't,
This is Ken Panini, but
Ken or Justin?
we'll see who.
Okay. I'm sticking with Justin because I can't pronounce his last name.
Yes, Ken is,
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is it Justin?
No,
Or Ken?
This is Ken Petrini, along with Don Snyder from Snyder Civil Engineering.
Oh, okay. Good morning, Ken and Don.
Good morning.
good morning, thanks for having us here. We provide the professional engineering services to Justin Zanellis and his staff at Aquarian Water Company, sir.
Thank you. What is the date you're looking to do this and the time frame?
So the project is anticipated to start in the spring here of 2023 and run into the spring of 2024.
Okay,
These
so
will
just
not
so
be
people
daily
understand,
closure.
can you speak a little bit louder because I want to make sure everybody
Just to
hears the.
clarify, this is a year-long project.
Okay.
It will be starting this spring and concluding the spring of 2024. And throughout the duration of the project, there'll be impacts to the roadway, and there will be times where connections need to be made, where the roads will need to be closed. So we're asking for the ability to have intermittent road closures over the course of the next year. We're not looking to close the road every day for the next year, but throughout the course of work, maybe a day a week, a couple days a month as needed, please.
Okay, so intermittent, so we'd have to get that word out there, so if it's not going to be a consistent schedule. And I assume the road will be dug up for that year period, correct?
Correct. The road will be dug up. Construction will be taking place throughout the year period. We are coordinating with your Pete Krupewski and his folks at Department of Public Works and the town engineers level. And we wanted to come for your board for some, let's call it some planned flexibility. We will be transparent in advance throughout the course of construction with dates. But rather than coming to your board on a regular basis, we wanted to be proactive and plan in advance, please.
Okay, thank you. Doesn't pertain to this, but going forward, anytime we speak with you and the road is being dug up, I'm going to ask if there's an opportunity to work with the other utilities to bury lines because we know that's the biggest concern is the digging up of the road and the biggest cost, but that's not going to be an issue here. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there because it's starting to get me on my mind a lot. But thank you. Any questions or
You're
comments?
welcome. That's mutually beneficial for us and Aquarian Water Company. So thank you for noting that.
No, thank you. Yes, and your CEO, or about a year now, he was terrific, very open to the idea when I reached out to him about a year ago, which hasn't always been the case with all the utilities. So we're very grateful for that and for your willingness there. Any comments or questions?
I do have a number of questions. Obviously, we're talking, the road we're talking about, there's obviously a lot of businesses and restaurants and parking spaces. Let me say again, parking spaces. So I guess the question is, road closures will obviously affect accessibility to those parking spaces, to those businesses and restaurants. How much time can we expect, a heads up about when these closures will happen so that we can get the word out? Will you be notifying affected businesses and restaurants similarly?
Yes. So just a couple things to clarify. Due to the complexity of this project and let's call it the busyness or the popularity of Greenwich Avenue, some of this work is proposed at night as night work to mitigate some of the risk to businesses and impacts during the day. Aquarian Water Company is engaging Snyder Civil to have a full-time inspector on site to coordinate those efforts with business owners and parking and those items as well.
And in conjunction, we did talk with Parking Services, and in their initial thing, there was, obviously we'll have to take up some parking spaces during the project, but there'll be small areas as we're working. It won't be the complete parking situation. But from my understanding, according to the website from Parking Services, that the road is closed to parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So that will be the majority of the work time that we'll be working. But there will be potential work on either end of that as well, maybe from 11 p.m. and also into the morning. But by morning hours, morning commutes, the road will be reopened every day.
Thank you. I know in the past we've had to revisit a few times where there was night work where people were complaining about
The noise.
But I think here, it's never going to be a perfect situation because, as my colleague said, that it's the main thoroughfare, main business district. So it's not going to be, anything we do is not going to be easy or totally welcomed. But the fact that you're already, been speaking with Parking Services and will be reaching out to all the businesses is helpful. And I agree, if it's done, overnight, a lot of it, that goes away. But we'll just have to monitor it because, again, we may get some calls we have in the past about night work, but we have to balance it. And certainly we'll, as far as the the notice as early as possible when it comes to notices is the best way, just so we can let people know ahead of time so we can make arrangements. But we certainly know it's you're up against it with that area there. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
My
Pleasure.
questions,
Thank you for considering our request.
Just a follow-up.
yeah, my questions weren't so much about the road closure, it was about the work. So, yeah, I had concerns because we have outdoor dining that's going to be happening, and how is, the road work going to impact people who are dining outside? And yes, when was the work going to be done? Because the work, I think, is going to be more disruptive than the road closure, actually. And we will have to get the notice out because it's not just businesses. There's apartments above most of the restaurants and retail establishments. So, Fred, I agree. People are going to be concerned about the noise. But, yeah, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot, I guess.
For what it is worth, this is somewhat of a dynamic operation. It's going to be about 1,500 feet, which is just over a quarter mile of roadway. And think of it as a rolling stage, if you will. So the entire duration of the project travels along as it goes. So although someone may be impacted for, a week's time, after a week or two's time, that will be moved on down the road to others. So we'll take that into consideration, and the majority of the work, again, will probably be between, say, 9 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you. I just want to follow up. So just so expectations are set, what is the current practice in terms of notice? Is it a 48-hour notice? Is it a 24-hour notice? What kind of notice can we expect when there's going to be a closure?
Sure. So typically we provide 3 levels of notification, and we'll have a senior inspector on this project responsible for coordinating the outreach on behalf of Aquarian Water Company. So Aquarian issues advance notice to all the customers in advance of the projects. Then in addition to that, we provide notification to the town. I think typically we do that weekly, a week in advance forecasting, look ahead what will be going on for the next week. And we also have the typical boots on the ground style notification, where we have our senior inspector physically out on the job site, fielding questions from concerned customers, knocking on doors, just kind of as a good steward of that, and to promote answering some of those questions and making accommodations in the field to truly buffer, the community's, customer service requests, impacts, and calls and reports to the town. We do our best to provide access to, steer clear of a particular restaurant if they're having a special dinner event for the evening or something, when reasonably possible to accommodate.
Thank you for that. I anticipate, this is our first read. I would anticipate that unlike some things that come before this board, we are going to hear a lot of public comment on this. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And again, this is a critical water infrastructure project that Aquarian is looking to take on here. So your assistance with this and consideration is greatly appreciated. We thank you in advance.
Well, thank you. And we know it has to be done, so we'll certainly work with you to make this as painless as possible for people. So thank you. And we'll listen
Thank you.
to the comments in the next 2 weeks. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Okay, and the last item is a request for the temporary closure of South Stanwich Road as part of the pipeline replacement project. And is Gary Simard on from? Okay, thank you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Good morning, Gary. Yes, we hear you.
Good morning. My name is Gary Simard. I'm with the engineering firm of AECom. Again, here representing a project for Aquarian Water Company. We are requesting a short-term road closure of Stanwich Road. The project is to replace a pipeline that actually goes underneath North Street, but we need to deploy a drill rig into Rockwood Reservoir in order to do some geotechnical test borings. And the way that we're proposing to do that is to offload the drill rig that would be on a barge from Stanwich Road with a crane, lower it into the reservoir. The barge would then motor over towards the North Street area where the test borings are required. And then a few days later would be lifting the barge out of the water with the crane. So the closure is expected to be between a 4 and 8 hour period, starting on about May 15th. And if all goes well, it would be removed on about the May 19th, towards the end of the week. There is no excavation proposed in the road. This is simply a crane setup to lift the barge into the reservoir and then later on lift it out of the reservoir.
Thank you, Gary. And so the total duration is anticipated for what, about a week?
The total closure will actually be only during the loading and offloading. So we're saying a very conservative time frame is that it will take all day on a Monday to load it in and all day on a Thursday to take it out. In reality, it should be able to be done well within a half-day time frame,
Okay,
if all goes well.
okay, thank you. I was just looking for the duration of the work from the 15th to the 19th, and
Right, but the road would be reopened when the crane is not,
Okay.
being deployed.
okay, well, I know we've heard from residents in that area before on lots of different projects, so I'm sure this will be no different in the next 2 weeks, but we'll certainly pass them on to you when you return in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Gary, much appreciated. Any questions?
Yeah, no questions.
Okay, well, thanks again, appreciate it. Now we're at the
Thank you.
public comment period. Is there anybody from the public that would like to say anything? I see a hand.
So I have.
Molly Salibi will be coming to the podium.
Yep. Is it on? It's on. Okay. What? Oh, yeah, Molly Salibi, hi. Lifelong resident RTM member, and I'm the RTM rep on the Old Greenwich Building Committee. So in terms of playbooks, processes for building committees, I have one comment which I did already communicate to the Board of Ed chair, and I wanted to let you guys know as well, since you're a part of the process. So in my view, building committees should be ready to go once funds are available July 1. And last year, we had OG and Central both get money approved. And the Central Building Committee convened July 22nd, I think it was, and we were not until the 13th of October. Had we convened 3 months prior, the OG Building Committee, with the pace in which we've been moving, all of the other outstanding questions that various people have, we'd have those answers and, really have final numbers. So while we all know the RTM can decide differently from what the BET does, it's still directional. So it's my view that once the BET has their decision day, that all the different parties involved should just be thinking about, we're going to need a building committee for this and a building committee for that, because the RTM approved the Central Building Committee last June, and the OG was not on the schedule until September. And that's not a fault of the Board of Selectmen or anybody, but the moment the money is approved, then the BOE needs to signal to the Board of Selectmen so everyone can just be getting that in their heads that we're going to need a building committee. And it's easier to take something off of an agenda than it is to get it on. And we all know, there's like a month close period for the RTM, right? So, and May is budget season, so ideally last June, even though it's a big agenda and a lot of people, but the RTM would have been considering both OG and Central and not have to, wait 3 months. So I just want everyone to be thinking about those processes, so that's all.
That makes a lot of sense, Molly, and I requested to meet monthly with the superintendent of schools, and this is certainly something we could put on the agenda, so
Right,
Thank
because
you.
it's the superintendent that directs the Board of Selectmen to,
Correct. That's why I mentioned, I know that
Yep.
the BOE/super signals the Board of Selectmen to appoint people for a committee. I realize that. That's why I spoke to them first, but nonetheless, you know, you guys are thinking people and you're at the budget meetings and so forth, so it's just for everyone to think about. So, thanks.
it makes sense, and I will certainly bring up that point.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Good job. Thanks,
Okay,
Molly.
thanks.
I have to run to the office because I printed out the nominations and it didn't print out something. So I don't have them all by memory, and I'll be right back for our appointments and nominations.
Take your time. In the meantime, Ken will sing for us. Couple Beatles tunes, no? No? He does it during the day. He's kind of shy right now, but that's okay. That's okay.
No, Fred, we need you to sing some Sinatra.
I hurt my voice. My throat's hurting. I'll clear the room out.
Not any worse than I would.
But anyway, well, this is moving right along, so this is good. We just have, for the public out there, we just have to do some appointments and nominations and then adjournment, so, thank you.
All right, sorry about that. I should have looked when I printed it out.
No, no
All right,
problem.
we
Thank
have-
you.
We have 8 to go through.
Okay.
Do you want me to just read them all at once and do one vote, or vote individually?
In the past, we've always done it one individually unless there's any objections. I think we're kind of in agreement on all of them, but I would,
I think process-wise, we have to do it individually, even though yes, we're.
All right, well,
on-
here goes.
We're in consensus about everybody, but, yeah, I
if it
think.
was like 30, we'd have to maybe rethink it, but.
Okay, Lauren Rabin, I motion that we appoint Nancy Duffy as a returning member of the Selectmen's Nomination Advisory Committee for a term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Lauren Rabin, I motion that we nominate Anne Marie Hines as a returning member for the Commission on Aging, position R6, for a term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Lauren Rabin, I motion that we nominate Ellen Wolfson as a returning member of the Commission on Aging for a term expiring June 30th, 2026, position R5.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Lauren Raven, I motion that we approve the nomination of Kip Bergweger as a returning member on the Commission of Aging for a term expiring June 30th, 2026, position R7.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Lauren Raven, I motion that we nominate Edward Keller to move up as a regular member, position R4, to the Harbor Management Commission for a term expiring March 31st, 2025.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Lauren Raven, I motion that we nominate Danielle Goodwin as a returning member of the Board of Health for a term expiring June 30th, 2027, in the position of R3.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Lauren Raven, I motion that we nominate Matt Pop as a returning member of the Board of Parks and Recreation for a term expiring June 30th, 2026, position R8.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
And last but not least, Lauren Raven, motion that we nominate Scott Johnson as a returning member of the Board of Parks and Recreation for a term expiring June 30th, 2026, in the position of R7.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you, Lauren, very much for that long list. Seeing no other business before the board, is there a motion to adjourn?
Lauren Raven, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you to everybody who attended today. Thank you, Ken, thank you, Don, and thank you, Jenny. Have a great day, everybody.